Why do you spend thousands on premium anti-aging serums, green juices, and strict diets? Yet you still wake up feeling utterly exhausted and notice you are aging faster than you should. You have probably been told that sleep is just like a bank account where you can simply deposit a few extra hours on the weekend to make up for the debt you accumulated during a stressful work week. I am here to tell you that this exact mindset is secretly destroying your metabolic health and accelerating your biological clock. The mainstream advice suggests that as long as you get your 7 hours eventually, you are perfectly fine. But that is fundamentally flawed and treats the symptoms while ignoring the true damage happening inside your skull. Today, we are going back to the foundational evidence to look at what is really happening when you close your eyes. We are going to decode the real root cause of your chronic fatigue and rapid aging. And I promise you, it has nothing to do with just the total hours you log in bed. The evidence points to a completely different biological reality that most people are completely ignoring. If you are ready to look beyond the surface level advice and discover the truth, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss another deep dive into the true science of your health. Let us look at the evidence together and dismantle one of the most dangerous mainstream myths of our modern era. The common belief is that sleep is just a passive state of rest, a simple power off button for your body. The narrative tells us that if you burn the midnight oil from Monday to Friday, you can simply sleep in until noon on Saturday and magically erase all the damage. This idea that sleep is just a mathematical equation of hours is completely backwards. When you shift your sleep schedule constantly, you are not catching up on anything. You are actually inducing a state of chronic social jet lag that creates profound metabolic confusion. Your body does not run on a simple calculator. It runs on a highly tuned biological clock that expects absolute uncompromising consistency every single day. Here's what is fascinating about what actually happens when you drift off. Your brain does not shut down. It goes to work in a highly coordinated, aggressive manner. Think of your brain during the day like a bustling, overcrowded metropolitan city. Throughout the day, all that high-speed traffic generates a massive amount of pollution, trash, and metabolic waste. The neurons are firing at incredible speeds, constantly processing information and driving your complex metabolism. By evening, the streets are littered with toxic debris. If you leave that trash there, the city will eventually grind to a halt. This is exactly what happens with highly reactive proteins like amyloid beta in your brain. This is where the real key is found in a remarkable biological mechanism called the glymphatic system. When you enter into deep, slow-wave sleep, something incredible physically happens inside your skull. The glial cells in your brain literally shrink down in size. Imagine all the massive skyscrapers in that busy city suddenly shrinking by 60% to widen the narrow streets. Once the streets are wide open, a massive wave of cerebrospinal fluid rushes through the brain. It acts like a fleet of high-pressure street sweepers, aggressively washing away all the toxic metabolic waste that accumulated during your waking hours. When you cut your sleep short or go to bed at wildly unpredictable times, those skyscrapers never shrink. The street sweepers never get deployed to clean the avenues. The toxic trash just sits there, rotting in the delicate structures of your mind. Over time, this failure to effectively clear out the waste profoundly lowers your cognitive function. It is the real root cause of that stubborn brain fog you feel every afternoon. More importantly, this exact mechanism is why poor sleep dramatically spikes your risk for neurodegenerative conditions. You are essentially allowing your brain to suffocate in its own metabolic exhaust. But the damage of irregular sleep does not stop at your neck. We have to look at a second critical physiological player here, which is oxidative stress in your cardiovascular system. When you restrict your sleep, even mildly over a long period, you throw your internal environment into a state of panic. Your body perceives this lack of recovery as a chronic threat. This triggers a relentless spike in systemic inflammation and highly reactive oxygen molecules racing through your bloodstream. These unstable molecules act like microscopic shards of glass scraping against the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels. This delicate lining is called the endothelium, and it is responsible for keeping your blood flowing smoothly and your blood pressure under control. When those microscopic shards of glass constantly scrape the endothelial walls, they cause microtears and severe inflammation. Your body responds by rushing to patch up the damage with whatever it has, often leading to the dangerous buildup of arterial plaque. So that erratic sleep schedule is not just making you feel lethargic. It is actively creating vascular inflammation and significantly raising your risk of devastating heart attacks and strokes. The two systems are deeply interconnected. Another massive consequence of this erratic schedule is the rapid development of insulin resistance. When your brain is starved of deep sleep, it constantly signals a state of emergency, flooding your system with the stress hormone cortisol. This constant cortisol elevation severely blunts your cellular sensitivity to insulin. Imagine insulin as a dedicated delivery driver trying to drop off glucose energy to your muscle cells. Poor sleep essentially changes the locks on all the doors. The driver cannot get in, so the sugar just backs up in your bloodstream, causing immense damage and forcing your pancreas to work in overdrive. Dahan, the toxic buildup in your brain triggers stress signals throughout your nervous system. These stress signals elevate your cortisol levels even further and drive up that vascular inflammation. The compromised blood vessels then struggle to deliver adequate oxygen and fresh nutrients back to the brain. This creates a vicious cycle where poor sleep drives vascular damage, and vascular damage impairs your brain's ability to heal itself. You cannot separate the brain from the body. They are locked in a continuous dialogue, and erratic sleep turns that vital dialogue into a chaotic, destructive screaming match. Interestingly, some studies have found that individuals who constantly vary their bedtime by just 90 minutes over the week show a significantly older biological age than those with strict schedules. Their cells literally age faster, their telomeres shorten rapidly, and their baseline inflammation often doubles. The research shows that even just a mild sleep restriction over a few weeks causes a massive increase in oxidative stress within the vascular cells. Furthermore, scientists have observed that gut health collapses when your sleep rhythm is disrupted because the beneficial bacteria in your microbiome also operate on a strict circadian clock. It proves that the timing of your sleep is just as critical as the total duration. Your hormones, your mitochondria, and your complex gut health all depend on a predictable, anchored circadian rhythm to function properly. If you keep treating your sleep schedule like a flexible suggestion, you are robbing your cells of the only chance they have to repair themselves. You are inviting rapid aging, widespread inflammation, and severe metabolic dysfunction. Now that we understand the deep mechanical failure happening inside, we can map out exactly how to fix it and restore your body to optimal health. Let us break this down into a highly actionable evidence-based protocol to rebuild your circadian rhythm and optimize your biological age. This is your definitive strategy to stop the rapid aging process and finally give your brain the cellular cleaning it desperately needs every single night. 1. You must establish an absolutely non-negotiable anchor for your wake-up and sleep times every single day. The science of your internal clock dictates that consistency is the primary signal your brain uses to regulate your entire endocrine system. Think of your circadian rhythm like the master conductor of a massive symphony orchestra. If the conductor keeps changing the tempo randomly, all the different instruments, which are your hormones, will fall entirely out of sync and produce a terrible chaotic noise that ruins the performance entirely. To fix this, choose a specific bedtime and a specific wake time that allows for 7 to 9 hours of rest and stick to it faithfully even on the weekends. Set an alarm for when you need to start winding down in the evening, not just for when you need to wake up in the morning. A major pitfall here is the overwhelming temptation to sleep in on Sunday mornings. Resist that urge completely. That single act of sleeping in induces the severe social jet lag that ruins your metabolic health for the next 3 days. 2. You need to aggressively curate your light exposure in the hours leading up to bed. Light is the primary environmental trigger that tells your brain whether it is time to be highly alert or time to release melatonin, the hormone that initiates your sleep cascade. Imagine your eyes as direct fiber optic cables feeding critical information straight into the master clock deep within your brain. When you blast those cables with concentrated blue light from screens at night, you are forcefully tricking your brain into thinking the sun is still shining high in the sky. Start by turning off all overhead bright lights at least 2 hours before your target bedtime. Switch exclusively to low-level, warm-colored lamps that naturally mimic the soft amber glow of a fading sunset. Exactly 1 hour before bed, you must completely stop looking at smartphones, tablets, and backlit televisions. Replace that intense digital scrolling with reading a physical paper book or using a non-backlit electronic ink reader. The biggest mistake people make is turning on the bright bathroom light right before bed to brush their teeth, which instantly destroys their fragile melatonin production. 3. You must strategically manage your food and fluid intake to flawlessly align with your natural sleep cycles. Digestion is a highly energy-intensive biological process that directly competes with the deep restorative functions of your slow-wave sleep. If you drop a massive, heavy meal into your stomach right before lying down, your body is forced to focus its energy on breaking down food instead of running those critical brain cleaning sweeps. It is literally like trying to do major plumbing repairs in your house while everyone is simultaneously trying to take a hot shower. To implement this correctly, stop eating all heavy meals at least 3 hours before your head hits the pillow. Keep your daily diet focused on whole grains, fresh vegetables, and high-quality proteins to keep your blood sugar completely stable throughout the night. Stop drinking all fluids 2 hours before sleep to absolutely prevent those highly disruptive middle-of-the-night trips to the bathroom. Also, absolutely restrict all caffeine and alcohol intake in the late afternoon and evening. Alcohol might make you pass out quickly, but it completely destroys the structural architecture of your deep sleep phases. 4. You need to forcefully retrain your brain to associate your mattress exclusively with sleep and intimacy. Over the years, many of us have mistakenly turned our beds into home offices, dining tables, and late-night entertainment centers. When you do this, you accidentally wire your brain to expect intense cognitive stimulation the moment your head hits the pillow. It is exactly like training a responsive animal. If you feed a dog in a specific corner every day, it will always expect food in that corner. Your brain does the exact same thing with hyperwakefulness in bed. If you find yourself lying in bed awake for more than 20 minutes, do not just lie there staring at the ceiling and feeling increasingly anxious. You must immediately get out of bed, move to a dimly lit room, and engage in a terribly boring, repetitive activity. Read an incredibly uninteresting book or slowly fold laundry until you feel a heavy, undeniable wave of sleepiness crashing over you. And only then return to bed. Be extremely careful never to check the time on your digital clock when you wake up in the middle of the night, as that sparks instant anxiety. 5. You must engineer your bedroom environment to trigger a natural, required drop in your core body temperature. In order for your brain to safely transition from light sleep into the deep, highly restorative stages, your internal core temperature must literally drop by about 1 to 2 degrees. Think of your physical body like a high-performance computer server running complex algorithms. In order for it to run its deepest defragmentation programs without overheating and crashing, the external cooling fans must kick in, and the ambient room temperature must be brought down significantly. Set your bedroom thermostat to a decidedly cool temperature, ideally somewhere around 65 degrees Fahrenheit, or roughly 18 degrees Celsius. Keep the room exceptionally quiet, utilizing high-quality foam earplugs if you happen to live in a noisy urban neighborhood or share a bed with a snoring partner. During the colder winter months, you can definitely use a heavy, thick blanket to stay comfortably warm on the surface while the cool air keeps your core temperature perfectly regulated. Do not make the critical error of wearing heavy socks and thick pajamas in a hot room, as this will absolutely ruin your deep sleep. 6. You need to aggressively utilize morning sunlight and physical movement to reset your biological clock the exact moment you wake up. The sharp contrast between dark nights and bright mornings is the ultimate biological switch that optimizes your entire circadian rhythm. When your eyes absorb natural, unfiltered sunlight first thing in the morning, it halts any lingering melatonin production and signals an incredibly healthy spike in cortisol to give you abundant natural energy. It is exactly like firing the loud starting pistol for your metabolic race every single day, keeping all your systems perfectly aligned. Within 30 minutes of waking up, step outside and let natural sunlight hit your eyes directly for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Combine this crucial morning light exposure with a consistent routine of aerobic exercise, such as a brisk outdoor walk or a light, steady jog. This powerful combination of bright light and physical movement locks in your wakefulness and ensures you will be deeply tired exactly when you need to be later that night. Be warned that looking at sunlight through a glass window is far less effective, so you truly need to step entirely outside. 7. You must implement a strict, unyielding limitation on daytime napping to fiercely protect your nighttime sleep drive. As you stay awake throughout the day, a specific chemical called adenosine slowly builds up in your brain, creating what scientists call sleep pressure. This vital pressure acts like a giant heavy spring being slowly compressed all day long. When night falls, the heavy spring finally releases, driving you powerfully down into deep restorative slow-wave sleep. If you take a long, luxurious nap in the middle of the afternoon, you release all that essential pressure prematurely. If you absolutely must rest during the day to survive a grueling schedule, strictly restrict your nap to an absolute maximum of 20 to 30 minutes. You also must strictly ensure that this short nap takes place before 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Any longer or later than that, and you will undoubtedly steal the critical sleep pressure needed for your nocturnal rest. The most frequent trap ambitious people fall into is using long late afternoon naps to survive the exhausting workday, which then creates a devastating vicious cycle of insomnia later that night. While this action plan provides the ultimate foundation for optimizing your rest, we need to carefully address a few critical special circumstances. First, if you happen to be a shift worker, the rules of light exposure become even more vital for your survival. You must use incredibly dark blackout curtains to perfectly simulate the dead of night during your daytime sleep hours. Additionally, you should aggressively utilize bright light therapy boxes during your waking night shifts to artificially anchor your circadian rhythm and keep your body functioning. Second, if you suffer from chronic anxiety that keeps your mind racing at night, you need a dedicated mental offloading practice. Spending 10 minutes writing down your intrusive thoughts, daily tasks, and persistent worries in a physical journal before your relaxing evening routine can act like a powerful pressure relief valve for your overactive nervous system. Third, for those of you trying to quit smoking, understand that nicotine is a powerful stimulant that profoundly disrupts your delicate sleep architecture. Committing to quitting is entirely necessary to ever achieve truly restorative slow-wave sleep. Fourth, if you consistently follow all these environmental and behavioral rules, but still wake up exhausted, gasping for air or snoring loudly, you must consult a medical professional immediately. You could very well be dealing with structural mechanical issues like sleep apnea. This condition creates severe oxygen deprivation and massive cortisol spikes that no amount of temperature control or light management can fix on its own. You have to address the mechanical blockage first. So let us quickly recap the key logic here. Your sleep is not just a passive period of unconsciousness, and it certainly cannot be managed like a simple bank account that you balance on the weekends. Erratic sleep patterns and a lack of deep sleep directly shut down your brain's biological cleaning system, leaving toxic metabolic waste to destroy your cognitive function. Simultaneously, this poor rest skyrockets the oxidative stress in your blood vessels, leading to chronic vascular inflammation and accelerated cellular aging. By enforcing strict consistency, managing light and temperature, and aligning your diet, you allow your body to perform its essential nightly repair. Taking control of your sleep is the most powerful step you can take to reverse your biological age and protect your brain from decline. You have the power to change your environment, adjust your habits, and give your cells the precise conditions they need to heal. It just requires consistency, discipline, and respect for your biological design. Start implementing these changes tonight, and you will be amazed at the profound surge of energy that follows. I hope you found this breakdown helpful. If you did, please hit that like button, share this video with someone you care about, and do not forget to subscribe for more content that decodes the science of your health. Until next time, stay curious, stay consistent, and sleep well.